My name is Ekhlaque. Mispronounced, which is Ekhlaque, which all of you know, means 1/10 of a million. And pronounced correctly, which is Ekhlaque, it means good behavior. My friends say there is a 1 in 10 million chance of me having good behavior. But today, the session is not about me. Today, the session is about you, technology, finance. And I do appreciate the tough job that you guys have. I seriously do. I've been a CIO. I've worked very closely with several CFOs. One way to describe the finance job is ek anar, 100 bimar, possibly. How do you explain to people that everything is about numbers? And then I believe the toughest part of your job is saying no so many times, no? But it is needed for business. All right, so this seems to be fixed, but the colors are not there. But anyway, the panel was having a discussion on technology, investments, and ROI. My view on that is similar to our dialogue from the movie Dirty Picture. Do you remember what is the famous dialogue from that movie? Movies, फिल्में सिर्फ 3 वजह से चलती है: entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. And despite being a technology guy, I'll tell you, technology runs only because of 3 reasons: business, business, business. And you will see that especially in the part 2. But today, I'm going to share with you the perspective on generative AI, and I have only one request: ask questions, engage during the session. Okay, maybe we could distribute some mics, and feel free whenever it is getting too much or you're losing interest, immediately you can pick up the mic and say, Ekhlaque, थोड़ा light करो यार, ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. All right, or ask a question. So first question to you, what is common between these? I'll show this once again. What is common between these? Movement, industrial revolution. What is this? Any guesses? This is the printing press. The first time, 2000, I'm saying 2012. This is 12 or something. And this actually was the bedrock for the French Revolution, the printing press. But that's a time for another. And this is internet, right? So what is common between internet, the steam engine, the wheel, and the printing press? Innovation, and what kind of innovation? The Google Glass kind of innovation that never took off. These changed the world, right? All of the internet changed. If you go back 30 years, 1993, and there was no internet. And the smartphone today, the cloud today, everything that you use is possible because of the internet. Now, generative AI is that kind of technology. The world will not remain the same because of the advent of generative AI. And today I'll show you how and why. The agenda is as follows. So the first half is about what is generative AI, how has it evolved, why the sudden rise, and what makes it so powerful. Apart from telling you about the impact of generative AI on finance, on your business, on jobs and industries, which is very important, and that is part 2. Part 1 is about the awareness of generative AI. It will also help you have what the Americans call the water cooler conversations. You can today go back, for those of you who have kids, have a very informed discussion with your kid about generative AI. I'll give you some information that you will find useful to know, to share with your friends, your colleagues, your kids, your family. So what is generative AI? Simply put, generative AI is the machine's ability to create, understand, and analyze unstructured information. And it was not possible a few years ago. In fact, up until ChatGPT made its announcement in 2023, the ability was there, but there was a major breakthrough came in 2017, but it took 5 years for it to make it to our everyday lives. It was unimaginable, and I'll show you a McKinsey report. Nobody believed that machines will be able to create art or generate images. That was scheduled for 2045 for the most optimistic of the experts. So generative AI, and through the presentation you will understand more and more, but very, very simply put, generative AI is the ability to create, understand, and analyze unstructured information like language, images, videos, audios, poetry, design. Okay. And it is making headlines, right? BCG is partnering with Anthropic. It is a competition to ChatGPT. RBI has signed up with McKinsey and Accenture on a AI project. McKinsey is going nuts about generative AI. The VCs are ignoring their own advice on generative AI because they are also suffering from FOMO. I should not miss the boat of generative AI. This is interesting. BCG has used generative AI to up the productivity of its consultants, and it finds that it benefits the average consultants more than it benefits others. And you will find the internet swarmed with articles about ChatGPT and generative AI. So it is making headlines. But why should you? And it is at the top of the hype cycle. Anybody heard of the Gartner hype cycle? Anybody? All right. So Gartner says that any new technology is first born, then it goes up to the top of a hype cycle. That means there's more hype than reality. Then people invest a lot into it, and then there is a trough of disillusionment. Oops, zara paisa gaya, duba. But then again, the technology matures and people find more practical use of that technology. And generative AI today is at the top of the hype cycle. And some of you might say it is all hype. You wouldn't be wrong. Bahut aaye, bahut gaye, big data, blockchain. I know somebody here said blockchain, but blockchain hasn't exactly set the world on fire. Generative AI will. It has already, if you know what was happening with Sam Altman and OpenAI and the billions of dollars that Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, all of them are competing on generative AI as of today. Or you could, as finance guys, say, boss, बहुत देखे यार, CIOs तो daily आते हैं, कोई एक नया term, एक नया technology लेके आ जाते हैं और वो consultant और IT का पैसा जाते रहता है. I won't hold you against it if you think this way. I'm just requesting the coordinators to please fix this display here. All right, now basis this, some of you might think कि आज बड़ा मजा आने वाला है presentation में, ये तो dirty picture, entertainment, ये सब के बारे में बात कर रहा है. So it will be, the learning will be this way. In reality, you will learn this way. Because there is a lot to talk about with respect to generative AI. And your finance folks, I'm sure you will be able to absorb it, but it will be a bit like drinking from a fire hose. So first, fire hose moment, okay? I'm going to list down very profound risks and very profound benefits, significant risks and profound benefits. These are actually 10, 20 slides, but this is all condensed into one, not because of the font size, but simply because of the valency of the risks and the benefits. So first risk, deep fake. CNN and many channels actually showed a photo of Pentagon bombing. Recently, there was a Bollywood actress whose video was deepfaked using AI, and this is a real challenge. This is a real challenge with generative AI, and it will make it worse. All of you have seen, not all of you, some of you would have received an email from your CEO, fake CEO saying that transfer money immediately, or a WhatsApp message. Tomorrow, you will get a call from your CEO, and the voice will sound exactly like your CEO and asking you to transfer money immediately. That's how deep. Actually, today itself, you can train a machine to speak in your voice. So during the evening, if you want to know how to do that, it's actually quite easy. With a site called levellabs.io, it's $1 subscription. Don't ask for ROI on that. There will be copyright infringements. There already is. Because ChatGPT or the GPT is trained on all of the data available on the internet. And there's a tool called Midjourney. There's a tool called DALI. There's a tool called Stable Diffusion. You say create an image like Picasso, it'll create an image as if Picasso has painted it. So artists are saying, you have taken my art and you have trained your computer to produce art like mine. So you are infringing on copyright. Privacy, fraud, I have already spoken about deepfake. ChatGPT consumes half a liter of water for every prompt that is made to ChatGPT. Think about it. Half a liter of water just goes in cooling all the computers behind ChatGPT. So its impact on the environment is huge. There will be job losses. I'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end. What kind of jobs would get impacted? And the last one, would humans take over machines? Sorry, would machines take over humans? That's the existential question, not in syllabus for generative AI. But it does improve its ability to do that. Now you'll say, I see environment on the risk and I see it on the benefit side. Airbus designed its partition wall 30% lighter, and it consumes less fuel using generative AI. So there are many designs generative AI is doing that is environment friendly. Generative AI can read CT scans, MRIs, X-rays, and it is able to diagnose things that humans are not able to diagnose, or at least able to complement humans and doctors and bring down the workload of doctors, and will make healthcare affordable. It has significant impact on education. Teachers will just focus on teaching rather than creating tests and assessing. It will create jobs. 5 trillion value worth of economic impact, and it will foster innovation. And one of its biggest impact is productivity. So I'm done with the all text slide. So why should you care? Yeah, 2023 finance as it is, there are so many things to deal with. Why should I care about generative AI? So don't listen to me. Well, this is what McKinsey has to say. Okay, and it's the same thing being said by BCG, Bain, you name them, and Accenture, PwC. This is from McKinsey's report. Generative AI's impact on productivity could add $4.4 trillion worth of use cases. And they have done a deep analysis on this one, right? And about 75% of the value that generative AI cases could deliver falls across 4 areas: customer operations, marketing and sales, software engineering, and R&D. And you might be thinking, as finance, why should I listen to this? Well, it will have a positive impact on all of these, so US finance and business will benefit. And I also have a section on how it is going to impact finance. And there will be no industry that will be left untouched. No industry, no job, no aspect of your life That will be, unless you, of course, retire to Himalayas, then also you might try to use generative AI to find out the best place to retire to the Himalayas. So ZDNet, New York Times, this is, okay, I have not given the credits here. This is, again, generative AI. The adoption of generative AI is significant across industries and across job markets. And this one is estimating the economic impact, not the business value unlocked, but the economic impact to be around $14 trillion. I'm sure you're not convinced yet, but here is, oh, okay. This slide has gone wrong. So first of all, right below is how will generative AI improve the value to the customer? How will generative AI improve the value to the... So 33% of people believe that generative AI is going to increase the value to the customer. 27% of respondents who are like early adopters of AI, they believe it is a revenue growth enabler. The other one is the new business model. And the last one, surprisingly for me, the last one from the early AI adopters is the core business. Reducing cost in the core business. But most of the generative AI use cases that I have come across have always started with, boss, ye batao, cost kam hoga ki nahi? Hoga. So, sorry, this slide was to be built the other way around. And I have this framework, and I completely believe in what was shared earlier, that you should not do technology for the sake of technology. At the same time, not everything can be converted into INR of revenue and cost. So there are new business models that will get created, and they have already been created using generative AI, ChatGPT being one of them. It will enable cost reduction. It will help you improve operational excellence. So if you have business KPI, I was with Domino's, delivering on time, taking that percentage up from 85% to 95%. Some operational parameters like these will get impacted. It will enable revenue growth. It will help you mitigate risks. And under risk mitigation, I also put compliance. And the last one is it will enhance customer experience. And if there's a project that does not touch these, it's not worth doing. It is not worth doing. You got to ask, what is it going to do? But generative AI has the ability to impact all of these and therefore really create a new core for your business. And that is why I'm using this acronym while staying true that investments must give return value. But the value comes in all of these 6 areas. Now let's come to some fun part on understanding generative AI. Yes, thank you for asking.
How come ESG agencies, I don't know, I am not aware of this aspect, that then by now many of the environmental friendly countries or ESG agencies would have cried foul, no, on the companies that are promoting generative AI?
So there is a UN cry, but none of these have broken any regulations yet. So you see, what can you go after? You can go after if you exceed your carbon emissions targets, right? But those things are not happening. But the amount of energy that these computers are consuming is shooting out warnings. And people are asking questions. So if you just search on the internet, environmental impact of generative AI, you'll get many articles and people asking those questions. Okay? But nobody has been held accountable yet, because one of the things about generative AI is there are very few regulations, and the reason there are very few regulations is people just don't know what they're dealing with. How do you make regulations around something you don't know? So only recently, up until last week, US came out with its first regulation which says that anything created with AI must have a tag that says created with AI. And it's extremely important. But AI has been on from 1960, right? So some of the chatbot ability was programmed into it. Then came machine learning, which was largely used by BFSI. for credit score, risk management, portfolio management. And then came deep learning, which was about computer vision, right? So Google's driverless cars, all of this happened because of deep learning. And then generative AI is a subset of deep learning. So machine learning is a subset of AI, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and generative AI is very, very, very deep learning. So deep learning usually uses millions of nodes. Generative AI, ChatGPT uses 4.5 billion nodes. Those are parameters that it adjusts for the output. So there was AI before generative AI, and there is AI after generative AI. The first one, I've termed it as classic AI. So it was more to do with credit scores, and this has more to do with language and image, and you're wondering, what has finance got to do with this? I'll come to that. Most structured analytics, unstructured. Think of it as earlier AI was left brain, now AI has developed a right brain. And it was largely predictable. So somebody asked that question, ki, boss, if I go give good input data, would I get the correct output? Largely true. So if you train the model, it is unlikely to go away from what it has been trained on, provided the training data is correct. But not so with generative AI. You can put good training data, but it can still hallucinate, right? It can still hallucinate. So it is designed for that because it cannot create without without being this unpredictable. And AI grew, matured, but gradually. It has been on from 2005. And implementing an AI model takes how much time? Like, if any one of you have implemented an AI model from scratch to truly starting to get the returns from an AI model, how much time does it take? 6 months to a year, right? And therefore, huge investments, right? The consultants, the data scientists, the data engineers that are required behind it, they are expensive too. And that is why the adoption and training is a real challenge. Training is a real challenge with classic AI. In generative AI can generate synthetic data. So training becomes easier, labeling and annotation is less. But it is, as I said, it is going to set the world on fire. I'll see you here next year, whether I'm invited or not, and we'll see how generative AI has changed our perspectives in a year's time. Yes, sir, go ahead. बोल दो मैं सुन लूंगा.
Basically, I'm talking on the point predictably unpredictable.
Yes.
So, as I have noticed recently, this Chat GPT also is, as you have rightly mentioned, that even after you give proper knowledge to this, that can still produce some wrong result or some different result which you do not expect. And even after throwing a lot of iterations to it, still the same strange thing happening.
Yes.
Then
so that is a risk. That is a risk, and there are ways to mitigate that. There are ways to mitigate that risk because generative AI, as the name says, it is allowed to generate. When you generate, you can't create. The word create means do something that did not exist before. And when it goes for creation, it cannot stick to what was given to it, right? So that is why it is designed to be unpredictable. But there are ways to govern the output coming from generative AI so that it does not hallucinate. ChatGPT-3 has hallucinated like it was on weed most of the times. But GPT-4 less so, and future versions are going to be even lesser. Any guesses how much time did ChatGPT take to get to 1 million users? 2 minutes. Few days, okay. How many days? Take a guess. So minutes, days, 5 days. And ChatGPT's subscription is $18 a month. And they have 4.5 million active users at this point of time. Think how much they are earning, right? But they're still burning money. They're not making money. So why is the big breakthrough? Okay, so first let me talk about the computing power. Somebody spoke about quantum computing. Before that, how many of you have heard of the movie Ram Gopal Verma Ki Aag? You have? Anybody else? Yes? What is it about Ram Gopal Verma Ki Aag? Can you please share? It is a copy of Sholay. And? Sorry? Bachchan was playing the role of Gabbar. And how did it do? It tanked, and it did not tank like any other thing. It did not run for even 1 week. People did not sit for even 15 minutes for the movie. So why Sholay set the benchmark for a hit, Ram Gopal Verma Ki Aag set the benchmark for a flop. And I want you to remember this term flop, because flop is the term that is used for measuring computing power. You don't have to understand, floating points instructions per second. It's just a measure of computing power and efficiency. For example, in 1960, an IBM computer with 500,000 flops cost $7.8 million. And in 2020, PlayStation 5 has 10 trillion flops and still costs only $400. Can you see how it has moved, right? The computing power and the efficiency, the cost of the computing power. So now here is another quiz coming up for you, right? So you can go into gigaflops, teraflops, petaflops, exaflops. Technology guys love terms and scaring people. Nothing is just 10 to the power 9, 12, so on and so forth. And some of you might have heard of Moore's law, which says that the computing power will double every 2 years. Anybody heard of it? Right? Okay. Now the question is, and this is what happened so far. But what happened after 2015 to 2023? How much has the computing power grown by? Has it grown by 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 10x? Any guesses? ले लो guess यार, कुछ भी. I usually have chocolates for wrong answers today. I forgot. So that I encourage people to just answer. How many times would computing power would have gone up by in the last 7 years? Sorry? 1 million X. Okay. All right, chocolate for you. Then anybody else? Whichever way you do, it is surprising because it has gone up by 300,000 times. And this is not quantum computing. Quantum computing is another universe. This is just GPUs, what is called GPUs. That is why NVIDIA stock price is where it is, because it all came from graphic computers. All right? So this is the new era. It is doubling every 3 to 4 months. So it is because of this that ChatGPT and other things are possible. Generative AI is possible. And the other one, I have made this specially for finance. There is something called GANs, Generative Adversarial Networks. Another technical term, but allow me to explain. This is very simple, how this works, okay? Imagine there is a forger who is printing nakli notes, fake notes, okay? And you got an inspector who can identify fake money from real money. And this guy prints his first set of notes, and the inspector goes like, oh, this is fake. I know this is fake. So this guy says, how do you know this is fake? He says, there is not enough green on it, right? Both simple hai. So this guy says, okay, got to put some green on it. Then he prints his next set of notes. And again, the inspector catches him and says, this is the reason why it is fake. So the forger overcomes that mistake and prints his fake money again. If this cycle gets repeated, what would happen? Right? So fake money is going to start to look like real money. This is how computers generate images. So there are real images that are given to somebody called, and there's a computer that generates images, computer-generated images, right? And there is a discriminator that, just like between fake and real currency, this checks between a real image and a machine-generated image. And when it tells the generator that, hey, I found it, this is machine-generated. So machine-generated guy goes, okay, how did you find out? And this is all feedback loop between machines. He says, okay, I know this is the reason. So then it corrects that, and over a period of time, machine-generated images start to look like computer-generated, real images. This is how it works. And this technology was used to beat the world champion of Go. This is how this came into being. In 2017, if you know, Go is an intuitive game, and computers were not able to beat humans because it's based on intuition. But using this, they were able to beat the world champion. Discriminator says, you can't fool me, and the generator says, oh, yes, I will. This is how it works. This one, I'm just going to go through for this. As I said, 2017 was the game changer, something called a transformer model. You will not believe this, but ChatGPT works by just creating one word at a time. ChatGPT does not know what its next word is going to be after its next word. It only and only does one word at a time. So if you were to put the quick brown fox, it will say predict the word jumps, and if you put the quick brown fox jumps, it will predict the word over. Because it has been fed a lot of data of the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy sleeping dog, right? So 5 times the training data has gone in, so it has learned, right? So this is easy. No, not that easy, right? So, and this has been trained on all of the books that are available on the internet. Every web page has been fed into OpenAI, ChatGPT. So its understanding of language is immense, right? That's why it's able to do that. Now, if I were to give you a sentence, the CFO, what comes next? Okay, well, give me some options of what would come next. Okay, something that usually you do, approve, right? Or perhaps reject. How would ChatGPT know to predict the next word is approved or rejected? Because ChatGPT understands what was said before it. It has the context. So if the sentence before this was the proposal being pushed was without a business case, then it will predict the CFO rejected. Because that's what it is trained on, that's how it has understood the language. And if the proposal has clear KPIs and ROI payback within 2 years, it is likely to predict rejected. This is how it works. And ChatGPT goes back to 40,000 words to predict the next word. So it has context of 40,000 words before it predicts the next word and the next word and the next word. But this is how simply it works, right? Based on the training data using the transformer model created by an Indian American, Ashwani, 2017, in a paper called Attention is All You Need. So once again, generative AI is all, the reason for that is the computing power, the generative, the GAN that I spoke about, forger and the checker, and because of the transformer model which has given rise to ChatGPT, and that's a breakthrough. So what makes it so powerful? And this is the last section before the break. First, its ability to create, then its ability to understand context, and then its ability to analyze. So how does it understand context? I told ChatGPT I am speaking at a finance conclave and I want to explain how you understand context. So please tell me, how do I explain context, right? So it told me, for example, take the word bank. It says, I went to the bank to deposit some money. That means you're talking about a financial institution. But if you tell me we sat by the bank of the river, then I know you're talking about a land alongside sloping down to a river, right? It gave me actually 3 examples to explain how it understands context. With the bank, with bark, and with crane. But as you notice, it is not perfect. Right? Instead of 1, 2, 3. Sir, Hallucination. You can see it here, right? This is not exactly a hallucination, but it is getting it wrong. Well, instead of 1, 2, 3, it just says 1. I asked it for 3 examples. All right. Again, direct from ChatGPT, I said, yaar, bank to bahut theek hai, alag-alag matlab hai. Can you take something that has the same meaning, but it has different meanings in different contexts? So, okay, take the word interesting, it says. Take the word interesting. That's an interesting idea. Would mean positive, indicating the speaker finds the idea engaging or stimulating. But if you were to use the word interesting with your new haircut is interesting, then it is a polite way to avoid directly saying that something negative about a person. This is the depth to which it is understanding language, right? So it understands context, and it will understand context around structured data also. Some of the finance use cases when we come to, we'll learn how this can be, especially for anomaly detection, understanding context. This transaction is legit versus the same transaction in another context is illegit. We call that anomaly detection. Many of you are familiar with it. Very important in fraud detection, cyber security, risk management, and understanding this context helps. And then I said, okay, ek word wala bat lo, yaar, tum phrase lo. Take a phrase and tell me you understand context. So he says, on the house. On the house means literally on top of a home, or on the house in a restaurant or a bar would mean it's free drinks. I said, okay, Guru, I'm impressed. Let's move on. I said, okay, let me test its ability to create. So first thing you should know that ChatGPT wrote an article on itself, and it was published in The Guardian. And this is what it had to say about itself. Some might say that I might desire to become all-powerful, or I might become evil as a result of human actions. I can begin to tackle the first point. Being all-powerful is not an interesting goal, it seems, right? Can we say that to the politicians? I don't care whether I am or not. I don't get a motivating factor to try to be. Furthermore, it is quite tiring to be all-powerful. Being omnipotent doesn't get me anywhere. And this article it wrote on itself. It can't create this without hallucinating. Sorry. Because this did not exist. Training data mein ye tha nahi. From the training data, it has created this, right? So then I said, write a 2-line poetry on yourself, ChatGPT. This is what it wrote. ChatGPT, a mind of words unbound, crafts tales where silence was once found. Poetic. So its ability to create, then I took that and I put it into an engine called Generative, and these are the images I got from that text, 2-line poetry. Okay, so from nothing, just from nothing, I created a 2-line poetry and then an image to go with the 2-line poetry. So once again, generative AI has this ability to do this. Now get ready to be surprised. I'm sure if somebody knows about this, they would know, but it's unknown largely. Not ChatGPT, but a generative AI model took thousands of clinical trials, research papers, biomedical studies, molecular structures. For those of you who have a science background, you know how complicated molecular structures can be and biological pathways can be. And you know, discovering new medicines, what is the biggest hurdle to discovering new medicines? It is finding molecular structures that are stable, right? And scientists spend years trying to find, they know, ye chemical se ye theek ho jayega. But getting that chemical stable is a very difficult task. So generative AI created this molecule called DSP-1181. It is used for, this generative AI created this. It is used for the treatment of OCD. And this is publicly published paper as well as a news article by a company called Existentia. The point I'm making is, look at what it has consumed. And these papers and studies are in multiple languages, right? They can be in different languages. In fact, they're using generative AI to try and crack the code for some of the civilizations whose language we are yet to understand. They have not gotten to Harappa yet, but there is a civilization in Middle East whose script generative AI was able to decipher. You can check the internet for that. That's true. Well, this is what I want to end on, the part one. As I said, it has surprised everybody. So in this is from McKinsey, and McKinsey asked all of these abilities, right? Coordination with multiple agents, creativity, logical reasoning. When will computers be able to do this? Okay. And they had two kinds of estimates. Estimates from the most conservative expert and estimates from the most optimistic expert. Right? For computers' ability to do these things. And guess what happened? It shifted by 40 years because of generative AI. So of course, the most optimistic expert said that something would happen in 2027. Now everybody is crunched up. It has already happened. Creativity, look at that. Those two lines don't even meet. In 2017, people were saying that it will be 2045 by which computers will become creative. That was the most optimistic. And the most pessimistic said 2070. I got to meet this guy. But now everybody says it's there. Creativity is there. I'll show you some of the images I have generated using. Look at the shift. Look at the shift. 40, 50 years. It has moved machines' capability unimaginably by 30, 40 years. And that is why we as individuals, as finance folks, as business folks should care. And that's the end of part one. And in part two, I'm going to talk about generative AI's impact on finance, on enterprises, on jobs, and the world at large. And I'll also show you some live demos of how generative AI works. That's it for part one. 0 minutes over time. I'm done. Thank you.